Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the HSBG Podcast. I'm your host, J.K. Collins. I'm here with my constant co-host, Shady Bunny. Shady, how you doing?
Doing great, Collins. How are you today?
I'm tired, but you know why. But I'm gonna fix that. But generally, it's been good. Just getting some games in. New changes to the quest meta, I think, have been decent. Not. I mean, we're going to talk about it, right? But not as much as I thought was going to happen. But definitely an interesting amount of changes, and generally had a good week. How's your week been?
Good. I had like a stagnation in terms of, I feel like my progression as a player in the meta. But recently, I've been like, the click happened, right? Like, there's always that moment in the meta where it's like, it clicks, and it's like, now we're going up. And the click happened. So I was like, ooh, yeah.
I don't have clicks, generally. I bang my head into the wall, and then eventually my head gets harder than the wall I'm banging.
So the wall's intact.
This is going to work. Yeah. I'm going to... And then eventually I'm like, oh, I can cleanly bang my head if I do it in this angle. My head doesn't hurt as much.
So would it be fair to say that you don't have like those bigger moments, but you just have very gradual progression? Or right. Okay,
but my progression could just be like I win all the games, like, but it's not like, oh, something clicked, like the day before I could lose all my games. Banging my head in the wrong direction.
I do play in a very methodical way, right? So for me, it's like certain things fall into place, and then even if I like yesterday, I lost 40 MMR, but I played really well, and I could just look at that and I was like, and now I can judge my play a lot better because I understand what matters better. Whereas before, I'd be like, maybe I played poorly. I don't know. I lost MMR. Maybe I did poorly, but I could just look at my games. I was like, okay, no, here you took a right bet, you got punished. Here you took a right bet, you got punished. That's fine. I mean, like, I had a bad RNG day and I walked away with minus 40 and I was like, that's great. And then today I had like normal day and I had plus 200 and I was like, okay, sweet.
I'm always refining, but there's no like, oh my god, if I do these set of things, I'll win. Like, I do have like a standard or like a trend of things I like to do, but it's not like I am intentionally like following a game plan. I probably am, right? But it's not like, okay, here I level on 2 every time because that's the game plan in this hero. Well, sometimes that's true. Like, but the idea is not like I'm willingly always forcing that. I might be like, oh, maybe staying on 1 is good in this scenario because we roll triple elemental, like, of course, but you would do that too. Like, that's not
we are far closer together than maybe we give some listeners the impression, right? Because that's just the thing. When you're at a very high level, you're going to do very similar things.
Yeah.
But that's why the differences are so important, right? Because so much of what high level players do is the same, right? Like, we can look at lobby legends, and a lot of the time we're gonna be like, yep, and then you see, they're doing that here.
A lot of times it's like, right? I haven't thought about that. Like, that's where the differences are. Where the game has so many variabilities, so many heroes to learn, so many comps to play, that sometimes players will be way more refined in one particular hero, one particular playstyle than you may be. And by watching other people that have put in the time, put in the effort, and are particularly skilled, you might come out of there and be like, wow, I just haven't thought about that. It's not like I can't do that, but I haven't thought about that. It's not part of my game plan. It's not something I've consciously thought about. And now, by watching him, maybe I have a little bit more understanding in this particular meta, particular game plan, how to deal with those unique scenarios. So those are some of the things, right? As you play more and you see more and you experience, like, you get more confident.
So that's more knowledge.
Yeah. But I think, like, if you had full knowledge, like thousands of years or maybe that's too much. You maybe be too bored. Hundreds. Like let's say you put yourself now at the beginning of lobby of battlegrounds, right? Like and you right now, you're just gonna win every game. Like it's like no one knows what they're doing.
You win every
game. You'll win every game.
You'll buy Khadgars and people be like, "Why are you buying Khadgars?" And they're like, "Oh my god, why do you have 9/6 drops?"
They will win every single game. And it's just like the power of you knowing what to do compared to like the knowledge. And there's different levels of that, right? And as metas change, right, there's also different things to know. So also it'd be so broken. Like as soon as the meta changes, like, oh, I played this already. I played like as long as you haven't caused some warps into the time space continuum and the patches don't become different because you're playing it and dominating. You'll be like, oh yeah, it's Chroma Wing time, let's go. It's Nest Matron time, let's go. It's Light Spawn time, let's go. Like you'll kind of know what to do. It'd be very oppressive.
That's a very big start. Okay, that makes sense.
All right. Anyways, we do want to talk about the quest changes. It's been a couple weeks of quest meta, and think we have like a good understanding of what's pretty good, what's pretty strong, but also the patch is also pretty impactful of some of the changes that we're going to see. So those are some things we do want to talk about.
Let's dive in. Let's have a look.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. Here we go. All right.
Oh, good. I'm grabbing them for myself here.
So, battleground updates. We have 2 new quests, which I was not expecting, actually. I thought they added a lot of quests already, but they added some more. So, first one is Turbulent Tombs. Add a specific death rattle. So, this is going to add some death rattle to your hand, and then your death rattles trigger an extra time. And then we have Gillian Warhorn, which is add a specific battlecry minion to your hand. Your battlecries trigger an extra time. So the way they're worded, they work with both Titus and Brand for their respective quests. So kind of an interesting one. I've seen it a couple of times. Have I been super duper impressed? I mean, it's not bad. I don't think it's bad. And there's definitely some crazy scenarios. It's just that maybe I haven't seen my opponents do it because I haven't got it myself.
You haven't played it yourself.
Yeah, but I've seen my opponents with both of them.
All right. It's pretty disgusting. It's
because I haven't. It looks good, but my opponents
just me saying this to you, Collins, and then it's immediately going to be like, oh, what the fuck. It's an 8th board slot. You get the Baron without the Baron on the board. You get the Brand without the Brand on the board. That alone is disgusting.
Oh, right? It gives. It's like you get a Brand.
Yeah. So you get the effect, right? So this could also say, get a Titus in your hand, right? But it doesn't say that. It says you're dead. It says you have now Titus aura. You have Brand aura.
Oh,
excuse me. That is always with you. So you have an 8th board slot.
Dude, my opponents are trolling.
It's disgusting. It's like, of course.
I beat them all pretty handily. I was like...
I think that is one of those... I talked about this when this was announced. When I saw this, I immediately told my chat, this is going to be a nightmare to balance. Because you give your average player a Brand aura. They're like, that's below average for a quest. You give a top tier player a Brand slots, right, for free. They get to run whatever they want. They always have Brand effect. They pick like Gallywix and shit. Just destroy. And I mean, I got this on Gallywix and I was like, lol. I was just sitting there like, wee. It's like I always have Brand and I don't even need to run the fucking 2/4. And then the thing with the like, it's to the point where I feel like getting the minion on top of the activation is just trolling. Where so there's some big variance in that because you can get Gilnean Warhorn for a 4-drop or something, Battlecry, like a Jug, or you could get Mecha Jiraxis. And they penalize you pretty hard if it's Mecha Jiraxis, right? Because you're then getting, it's kind of like Masked Charlie or Masked Bannerboard.
Yeah.
But
you're mainly doing it for the brand effect, right? Like, it's nice to get.
You're not talking
right?
about this Titus effect, huh? It's not the one you're.
No. Titus for sure. The Titus one is possibly more disgusting. And
oh, that's not what I thought you were gonna say.
Okay,
I thought you were like, this one might be okay. Like,
no. And honestly, I will just let you take a stab as to why it's probably more disgusting. Like you build one particular comp with this that is completely dirty.
Something with Rylak.
No, you could, and that's also really, really good, right? But every base skill is a golden base skill. The poison Murloc is a golden, but right?
It's classic Murloc shitty. Never mind. Whatever.
Listen, your Titus cannot get sniped. You always have Titus. They cannot snipe the Titus because it's not on the board. So
this is why they removed Leapers, huh? This is why. I bet they were playtesting this. I'm telling you, this is what happened.
Yeah. It's like you literally can't snipe the Baron, right? Yeah. And I mean, for the most part, you play these quests and you add an extra Titus or Bran, right? Because if you're gonna play a lot of battle cries, because they stack, right? They say an extra time, they don't say twice. So you can have Titus on board and Tombs, and it's like you have a golden Titus.
You know what?
You can have War one. Yeah.
Did I lose to this? No, he just had double golden base skill. There was someone I played that was summoning just double cards out of his base skill. I don't think he had this. He just had double golden base skill, which I was like, okay.
Right.
Good for him. Have fun with that.
So yeah, my original point when I was explaining this, right, was that I think this is a nightmare to balance because if you give your average player the extra Titus effect, you give your average player the extra Brand effect, I think it's just fine. But I think at the highest level, you give players this flexibility, this option, I mean, they're going to break the game. They're going to abuse it, right?
They're going to break the game.
Break the game. Game broken. So, like, you can get Scourfin pretty early with this. I've completed Tombs in 2 turns where I then get a Scourfin for free. So you have to keep in mind that turn 6, I have a Scourfin on my board that gives +10/+10 every turn. And then that's a bonus, right? Because I still get the Titus effect. The whole game. Every selfless, golden selfless. Right? If I want a blaster, golden blaster. Base skill, golden base skill. If I get a golden base skill, it's like 2 golden base skills. I get golden Scourfin, it's 2 golden Scourfins.
It doesn't seem that balanced, shitty.
It's very silly. But again, you need to know exactly like how to really leverage it and be like, no, we're gonna go real hard here. We're gonna go, like same thing with the Warhorn, right? Like you get these high level players who know like, okay, I'm gonna work around Dracasath and pump out triples with a little token and this and that, or I'm gonna get the Rylak, or I'm gonna set up like this earlier today, I saw Victor play a Pilfered Lamps game, and on the turn he completes his lamps, he's already got 4 pairs. Right? It's shit like that high level players do, where it's just clean, it's nice, and they just take these quests to the next level. And that's why I think it's hard. It's gonna be hard to balance this shit because it feels broken at high level.
But it's balanced at low level, so we're all fine, right? Everything's okay.
I'm fine with just having fun, right? Like for me, it doesn't have to be ultra competitive where every single.
You're not playing in Lobby Legends, are you?
I'm not playing in Lobby Legends.
That's why you're saying so.
And you can tell. Yeah, it's but I mean, it is fun to have lots of powerful quests. I'm just pointing out that just the permanent Titus that cannot get sniped and the permanent Bran, where even if you
might be too much. Right? Okay.
So we know how good Golden Bran is. So if you get 1 Bran, you have Golden Bran. So I had Golden Bran on Gallywix after rolling 1 Bran, and that was just like
that's true.
I was like, wee. So yeah, just me pointing out that from my experience, what I've seen, it's pretty silly. We can move on, right? But just and maybe in 2 weeks from now, I'll be like, you know what? Maybe I overhyped this one just a little bit too much. But for now, I'm a big fan of these quests.
You think it'd be better if I think one issue here is that the add a specific minion type to your hand completely warps how hard it is. And if you get like a 1 drop or a 2, I guess you can't get a 1, but you get like a 3 drop, that's really makes the quest much easier to complete. It's kind of like the Ghastly Mask in a sense. This is basically Ghastly Mask, right? But it doesn't feel like it has the Ghastly Mask difficulty. Would you say that's correct?
Yes, I agree. I also think the difference with Mask is that there's not that much that works with Mask, right? So you're very dependent on the minion you're getting to get started. If you get Fort plus Mask, that is very, very good.
Yeah.
If you get Mask plus whatever is just okay, right? So,
what's that card? The Mech Undead.
Mech Undead.
Micro Mummy.
Right.
Yeah,
we don't get that.
That's that synergy that we're talking about.
Maybe like a beat elemental or something, right? Like the 4/4 elemental guy, which that only really does something when it's golden, but that would be a good example where you would much rather get the more difficult quest than get the Charlie, because then, or the Fort, because then you actually have a really sick board. But with this, there's tons of death rattles in the game. You would much rather just get the super easy death rattle quest, then get the Titus super early, and then like roll into the Scourfin or something on top of that. Same thing with the Warhorn. You would much rather get, if the quest would happen with a mug. I don't know if it's Jug for sure, but I don't think they do mug, right? The 2-drop.
Right.
So I would very happily like get a play, 3 battle cry or 4 battle cries, get the brand effect, and then you get a mug or something. I don't care about the minion too much. Just give me the quest really fast so I can start abusing.
Yeah, so maybe you make it harder to complete on average, but even like,
so you're taking away sort of the lower level options.
The lower level options, yeah.
I'm not going to give you the option to get a trickster yourself. It's going to be a higher.
Yeah, 5 or 6 or something.
I think for the Titus quest, it's really the toxic one is Scourfin, because that's just a comp, right? Like, hey, here's Baron Scourfin.
You get Red Hand, basically, plus more.
Right? Yeah, you get Red Hand, but it's not your whole. It's just like a tiny part of your quest.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, you get Red Hand, and it has huge upside as well. Yeah, I can see the problem. I hear you, because Red Hand is good. Like, actually, I think Red Hand.
Yeah, and you complete it about as fast if you're gonna go for the Scourfin difficulty.
Okay. So yeah, they added 2 new quests. Wouldn't necessarily say they're balanced. Apparently, my opponents threw. Honestly, every time I fought them, I'm like, oh, they're doing nothing.
I did explain, right, that I do think that this is mainly for the highest level of play.
Yeah.
And even though you are at a high level, right, not all your opponents.
Will be for sure.
Matchmaking. So I really, it's really if I see a good player on, like, recently I saw like Citro on Silas with a Sinstone, and I was like, okay, it's over.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it is.
We had like an easy requirement.
That's how it is. Right? Yeah.
So it's just like, so it's the same thing here. I think if you see like, I don't know, JJ or RDU on a Gallywix with a Warhorn, right? Like I played it. I was like, lol, right? Okay, give me a free brand on Gallywix, and I don't even have to keep it on the board. Let's go. That was not a fair game. But yeah, they're fun. So I do want this. This is not just negative. I would say this is for the most part positive. It's pretty bonkers, but they're fun, and that you want to have lots of quests that are fun. So that it's like Heroes, right? You want to just increase the chance that on turn 4 you're not like, guess I'll just play a Parasol because whatever. Give me my 8 health and try to save MMR.
The lack of not pushing for Lobby Legends definitely has adjusted my these need to be fixed. Now I'm just like, they're broken. I don't, it's fine. And so when I was pushing, I'm like, I can't play the tournament with this. Like, that was my feeling. But here it's like, okay, we'll manage. It's kind of interesting.
All right, let's go with the other updates.
Yeah, okay. So these are more difficult to earn. Endless Blood Moon, which I think is really good. Sturdy Shard. I don't remember this one. Volatile Venom, it's decent. Locker is really good. Hidden Treasure Vault, if you get early, it's very, very strong as well. These ones are easier to earn. Boom Squad, sure. Map of the Unknown, sure. Icicle, yeah. Bloodsuck Tome, it's still really hard to earn. Like even with this Snicker Snack, share Scepter of Guidance. So these are all like the timelines easier to earn. What? Is that right?
I don't think it's that great of a reward, like outside of the Kurt, right? Because I just find myself with timeline acceleration. You can high roll, but you can also just like zap. Okay, that was my turn. So yeah. I do find myself picking that quest very sporadically. Yeah, I have to be very happy with the requirements to be like, okay, I'll slam dunk the acceleration. So I think at the start I probably had, because I also played it with Kurt, right? I think with Kurt it's broken because you just copy a high tier minion. But on most heroes, this is just something you take.
I also played it with Kurt. So maybe that's why I'm like, you're like, because I hear you and I'm like, I did play it with Kurt too, and it was really good.
So well, I mean, turns out if you get 2 of the high tier minion, it's a lot better.
Yeah. Maybe that's why I'm like, oh wow, I can't believe this. But
I can believe that it got easier. So yeah, sure.
Ritual Dagger, sure. Annual Bribe and Mirror Shield. None of the easier ones surprised me too much.
Snicker Snack for me. I feel like I was slam dunking a ton of Snicker Snack already, like really easy completion. So
nah, I wasn't.
Okay.
What are you doing with it? You're just being a Rylak guy.
Yeah, it's like Rylak. So there's the gem buffing, which is really good.
Yeah,
there's
of course.
The shop buffing, which is really good, but also just economy with like that coin naga guy, and then just tiering. Like I've done that too, where I played it for a bit and then I just stopped using it. Like turn 9, turn 10, I was not having a battle cry on my board anymore. So, but again, right, it's all about how fast can you complete it. Is your board, does it look good, right?
Yeah.
Do you have the battle cries? So I can understand that it's not a quest that it's on average like too powerful.
Yeah, I wouldn't say on average it's like winning you the game or anything like that. So not surprised.
It's really those moments where you have the coin nagas on your board and you're like,
yeah, of course. Free money.
Good. Right. So on the more difficult part, I'm a little bit surprised for Venom because I feel like we were already paying a lot for Venom, but I guess I can see it. Average stats where, as much as people like shit on that quest or used to shit on that quest,
you top 4, like it procs you top 4.
Like people take this like, well, I guess I'll have to earn MMR this game. This game sucks. It's like, oh no, plus 30 MMR on the stupid quest, right? So yeah, you probably had very few top 8s with Venom, right? It's very hard when your board just gets that huge buff. So even though people don't like to take it, like probably whenever they did take it, they gained MMR. So
the stats are probably really good on it. So they're just like, okay.
So I can see that. Shard, I can also definitely see. I don't necessarily.
Is Shard the taunt one?
Yeah, Shard's the taunt one.
Really? I don't see it. Okay, explain it to
me. I have some good games with Shard.
Okay,
but it's very specific. So I think a lot of people push into Fort with this, and I think that's wrong.
Right.
I think the real good Shard
you go with the 4/4 that scales.
Yeah. So I have. Usually I'll have one champion on my board, right? With this thing.
Yeah.
But, and then this should come as no surprise, you just have like Deflectobot untaunted, right? So you have your taunts.
So you're just playing Harbinger.
Yeah, no, I'm not playing Karaji. I'm playing, my taunts are
just
Scrap Scraper, Utility Drone, right?
Okay.
So my tech pieces that normally are on my mech board, not doing much other than their effect, I taunt them. So now, on top of their effect, they also buff my Deflectobot. And then, of course, you run Drakari in that comp already. So now you have Drakari on your Shard, on your Scraper, on your Utility Drone. And it's really nice in that. Like if you can
everything's just scaling.
Yeah, you have like 2 Deflectobots, probably a golden champion, and then the backline is just Scraper, Drone, and modules on all that shit. And they grow a little bit as well if you put 1 or 2 magnetics on them, right? Because the Utility Drone procs. And then, of course, once you get Drakari, that's really good because then you are proccing everything, right? Your Scraper, your Drone, your Taunt Quest. So
where does
I
this
think
4 Reaper come in? Where does the 4 Reaper come in?
whenever you can add it. The weird part is if you module it, it doesn't scale with the thing.
Yeah.
So, but at that point, you usually have like, if you have like Golden Drakari or Golden Utility or, God forbid both, then it doesn't really matter if it's moduled or not. You just throw a bunch of magnetics on it. And the shard the shard falls off a little bit, but then the utility drone really takes over, right? Like it does what it used to do.
Yeah,
Because
mechs are still good. I hear you. If that
they're actually so stupid right now because there's a very, very significant change, and I don't know if you caught it, to mechs. All right, you haven't caught it, right? So this is ridiculous.
No, I don't have.
There
don't know what
there
you're talking
is
about.
this. So in the bug fixes and game improvements, there is this line. Magnetic minions.
Where's
now
the bug fixes in game? Is that the
all
bottom?
the way bottom.
Oh, that's why I didn't read it.
Yeah. I didn't read it either. It was my mod that pointed it out. I was like, that's not a fucking bug fix. That's a huge game mechanic.
Oh, whoa!
Right.
I see it. I know which one you're talking about.
Okay.
It's
So
right
for
here.
the listeners, right? The listeners who are not seeing the video here, the line says magnetic minions now return to the minion pool immediately after being magnetized. So
That's
I'm guessing
huge.
it's insane because you never run out of menace, right?
Yeah.
You can menace everything. So the big problem that we had was that sometimes when a player died or they sold their minions, the mechs didn't go back in the pool. And they ran out, and it was annoying. And the scrap scraper didn't proc. Even you
I
literally
think that was like kind of balanced. If
you're like,
more,
that's fine. That's fine.
like
Keep the bug.
more than this. Here.
Yeah, this is indeed less balanced. I agree. It's more fun for the mech players. So what you do now, right? Start of turn, you actually magnetize all your shit to put it back in the pool, and then you start rolling, right? So your scrap scraper takes it out of the pool. You put all your magnetics on your guys, and then you start rolling, and you roll more magnetics because they're all in the pool. Like every single player, when they play the magnetic, it goes back in the pool. So you just see way more magnetics.
So mechs have the highest like collection of cards that you can get on average, right? Since the magnetics.
When you go deeper in the game and other copies are out of the pool and are kept out of the pool, magnetics aren't. So percentage-wise, magnetics become more and more common.
That's true. Fix the bug where playing a magnetic minion next to a dormant minion could allow you to have 8 minions on the board. How do I do that?
Not anymore, I guess.
That's unfortunate.
It's like you weren't aware of it. I didn't do it, but a lot of the time you did see that little weird. You magnetize and your board like zooms out and be like, oh, going into another dimension. Oh, we're back. All right, it's like some weird shit happens when you throw like on the end of the rope, especially you throw like 3 magnetics. The game just goes like. It's just a lot of stuff going on.
Maybe it wasn't a Battlegrounds thing because it doesn't say Battlegrounds next to it.
Oh, okay, whatever. Either way, we know that the board zooms out, right, when you do that. So that is not a bug fix. That is a very, very big gameplay change. So pretty crazy that that's not just here in bold and big letters like, hey, mechs stronger now.
They play tested and they thought it was balanced. That's all it is.
It's really mainly menace, right? Because that's the one where if you see 3 people play a mech, you're like, oh man, I'm never gonna menace on my shit, right? It's just the menaces are out. But yeah, now you can just have menace on all your cards, and that's a big deal for Deflectabot, especially late game when they Leroy one of your taunts that menace. Your other 2 have it as well, so you just you always get your resets, and Deflectabots reset each other. So that is my take on chart. I think that a lot of people push into Fort, but I think the best version is the mech version.
You actually went back on track at the end. I actually.
I did. I like to steer us in there. The and I can see this. I see this quest overall doing well because it's flat scaling, and we know that works really well across all MMRs. So I don't think Shard was really in need of a nerf at the highest level because I think it was really only this mech specific board that you push in, because of course you can pick shard, but there's no guarantee you're going to be able to do Drakari utility drone, right? So if you can't push into that, I think it's really underwhelming. But as we see, it's getting nerfed regardless.
Any quest you think dodged the buff nerf bat that you're like,
Oh, did you do something with Discord just for the video?
Oh, did it freeze?
Oh, I'm back.
Yeah, sorry. I did.
No, all good. Yeah, probably quite a bit, but let me pull up the library. So let's see. You can go first, by the way, if you have one in mind.
I didn't.
You didn't? Okay. All good.
I was just asking you, you're like, oh, is there anything crazy that you were wondering about?
Right. Well, we could talk about the others first here, where the more Locket is just in the game, the more I feel like it shouldn't. Where, yeah, they made it harder to earn.
Oh, Advocate, that goes without saying. Okay, I guess that's fair.
It's just where I would have preferred that thing to just be taken out, because it feels
it's
so
not
bad.
Balanced. It's like, how do you balance it in a meaningful way that actually is balanced? Is actually like, I don't see how you can balance it in its current form. Like, just being harder to.
You asked me which one the Golden Hammer I think is still done.
Yeah, with Nagas. Yeah. Okay.
Golden Hammer is still available in Naga lobbies.
You have a list of all the quests?
They're just on the
website.
Thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You want it in Discord or Twitch?
Nah, I can find it.
Okay. But I looked at. But by the way, Victim Spectre, I have not been offered that in forever, so I don't think.
I think I've been offered it once, but that was a while
recently?
ago. Not recently, no.
No, recently. Yeah, recently I play a lot, right? And I haven't seen it on any of my opponents. I've never seen it in my selection like recently. So I feel like that one was turned off for taken in for maintenance.
Some bug issues. Probably.
Something was happening with that. And then for the quests that are now easier to earn, I can see some issues with Scepter of Guidance being easier, because Scepter is such a specific quest where we talked about that before, where it's like garbage with this, garbage with that, God tier with that. Where if you roll multiple elementals, right, per turn, you roll multiple Murlocs per turn. I think those are very nice. Yeah. Potentially Pirates, right? We talked about it as well, but
that one's a little bit harder to
do. Yeah. But the ability to just force full, 2 elementals per turn, or force 2 Murlocs per turn is pretty good. So that one I just have to experiment with a little bit more to see if it's a problem or not. But that's one part of the balancing thing. So I don't think that there was. I didn't have that many expectations.
Oh, I think Endless. Oh, wait, it's more difficult, but I still think it's too good. Even with it more difficult, I still think that quest is really
too good.
Yeah,
getting 2 gems.
Yeah, and just going from the 1/1 to a 3/3 with even more scaling possible is like just very, very consistent. Like, I find it difficult for if you, and it gets like. It gives you a game plan that's relatively easy to commit to, and you scale early, so you're not pressured hard or into doing something unoptimal since you're getting the gems. It just feels really good, and you can already have gems when it procs. That's another thing where I'm just oh, they had 5 gems already, and now they get plus 15/15 flexible. It seems really powerful to me.
That's true, and it is tough to evaluate just how much more difficult it was made, right? So,
I got it today. It's just
not that difficult.
I was not struggling, no.
Not struggling. Okay, that's a good way to put it. You weren't unhappy to pick it.
Oh.
All right. Well, I was looking at this where I think for the most part my expectations were met when it comes to specific quests that were nerfed. I think we talked about the ones that stood out a little bit. But what I expected to have a a big amount of changes was I thought we were going to get a ton of armor changes. Like so many heroes were like, oh, this is too strong, this is too weak. Like thought we were going to see many shifts to pull everything more towards the mean. And yeah, I mean, these are the changes. In terms of less armor, Cariel has 6. Shen has 15 at higher ratings, 12 at lower. That's it. No one else has less armor. Heroes have more armor. Gallywix went from 6 to 8, which is okay, right? Was probably underperforming, but still, it's a Gallywix. Got to be very careful with buffing that. Queen Wagtoggle has 13, so, I guess had 10 before, now 13. And that's it. So we have this list of heroes that we looked at. We're like, yeah, Kurt is not gonna keep 18. Zephyrus is not gonna keep 18. What is that? Reno is probably not gonna keep 15. Baran is not gonna keep 18. Maybe Orana is not gonna keep 15. Stuff like that. There were another few, right? Like Jandis with 16, right? Stands out as well. Tess with 18 armor. Yeah, I mean, you name it, right? You go like pretty good hero and then massive amount of armor because had a bad previous meta. To me, that just felt like that was going to get addressed immediately. But yeah, we had a very, 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 very minor.
That's interesting. In terms of the lack of hero adjustments, do you think it's due to them just being super happy with like the hero balance, or do you think it's like the nature of having all these heroes? And like, let's say you're working at the company and you look at all the data and you're just like, do I want to do this like this week?
I think if anything, it's a little bit more of let's just go after the really big outliers. So probably Cariel was winning way too much. Gallywix was top 8ing way too much, right? So I'm assuming those are the outliers. Like, all right, let's do something about them. Let's introduce these 2 new quests. Let's see how that affects things. And I'm assuming in the next patch there will be armor rebalances. Because, I mean, it's very unlikely that nothing can be better, right, in terms of pulling things closer together. I'd be very surprised if you look at all the heroes and be like, no, these are pretty much all the same winners.
I mean, I'm looking at HS replay, right, and the changes, they're pretty drastic, I would say, between some heroes. So
I mean, the difference in win rate.
Yeah, and win rates, yeah, they're pretty drastic. So
it's hard for that not to be the case, right? Yeah. When we look at certain heroes, like I think the Kurt is a good example where that's just a hero that makes so much sense, right? Like you don't, outside of the quest meta, it's always been the case where if you are incentivized to buy loads of minions, Kurt is suddenly really good, right? That was last meta too. Anytime that you have that incentive, you have this hero that's like, hey, I'm really good at buying lots of minions. And then you have 18 armor on that. So you get a very easy quest. You get lots of health, lots of security, and you get a nice little bonus while you're completing your quest a lot of the time. And it's kind of like you have a second quest, right? Whereas normally if you play Kurt outside of the quest meta, it's more like, yeah, but it's kind of greedy and you really have to set up and kind of have to hit and this and that. And that's not really the case now, right? So, but yeah. Just interesting, I suppose, where I'm assuming there's just a little bit more waiting and seeing.
More fine-tuning necessary before we can release our masterful changes that will balance everything.
I think it's just let's see these 2 quests. Let's see how these 2 quests affect things, and then we'll we also have another minion change, right? Bristleback Knight.
Yeah, of course. I got it today. Actually,
oh, you gotta go?
Yeah, I gotta go to it.
Okay, cool.
Felt damn good.
Okay.
I was like, dude, this thing just killed everything. But yeah, so it used to have Frenzy gain Divine Shield, but then they changed it to the first time it survives damage gain Divine Shield, so it's kind of like Frenzy. But now the golden one has the first 2 times it survives damage, you gain Divine Shield. So if you can make this thing big and if you can golden this thing could hard carry you, like really hard carry you. So definitely a very, very strong golden minion. I mean, as strong even as a regular, but like as golden, it's just like, wow, okay. If Murlocs aren't in and you got this thing golden, like you are chilling. So yeah, very very good update, because this card sometimes is hard to really want to play unless you were playing like that full Cobalt comp where you could easily transfer the stats. But if you weren't doing that, it's kind of hard. And I would say it's still hard. So it doesn't really change too much, but it does feel a lot better in my opinion.
Yeah, it definitely makes me want to pick this unit up.
Yeah.
For the potential, right? Because you're like, yeah, it's fine. Because normally when you look at that unit, you're like, yeah, that's kind of just tempo.
Yeah.
So I'll try to get more scaling. But now it's like, well, no, there's a big payoff here. If I get that golden, and it's like no Leroy, no Leroy, no Leroy, no Leroy.
Yeah, I mean you're usually not. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, no Leroy would be really punishing if you
really
got like yeah.
Because you're probably moving all your gems there so that it lives, and then you get Leroy. That would suck. But yeah.
I moved all my gems there for like the last turn just to. I had an upbeat. Actually, I had an upbeat. So I wanted to consolidate my stats.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but I was like, oh yeah. But yeah, pretty interesting change. Not that many minion adjustments though. I would say it seems like they're pretty happy with the minions right now. And I'm thinking, like, I think there are some minion types as a whole that are strong. Is there any like minions that are like upbeat is still stupid? I don't know why that's allowed. Like,
when you say upbeat, do you mean duo or do you mean the guy that's copies the health?
The copies the health, yeah, that one.
The upstart, right?
Yeah, upstart, yeah.
I mean, because Leroy, because Queen, I guess. I rarely really feel like, oh my god, they're doing well. It's when you get caught with your pants down in the mid game, right? It's like 5 people alive, and then they have like a 1700 upbeat. You're like, oh fuck, I can't kill that, and damage cap's gone. I'm dead. Right?
Yeah.
But I find that you rarely lose the finals to an upbeat player because it's like, okay, I'll deal with it. But yeah, it's really when you're unaware in a mid game and you fight someone that had a good upbeat game, you're just like, oh no, I cannot kill that minion no matter what I do. So that does feel bad when you're just like, I just don't have that much attack on my board. I can't take it out.
Yeah, 1700 attack is kind of hard, to get through. I guess.
Sure. You need Leroy. You need that poison for that for sure.
Who runs Leroy? Come on, like
my mid game routinely runs 2 Leroys.
That's the difference between you and I.
Yes, it is. No, dude, I'm coaching someone like on like long term, and when they just like snap bought a Leroy in the mid game, I was like, I'm so proud.
And I would be shaking my head like.
There was like no dialogue, they just like snap the Leroy. I'm like, yes, my work here is done.
They didn't even look at the minion types and be like, oh, undead in this lobby, maybe not. Like, come on, give me something. All right, well, fair enough. You're doing your job.
Yeah. No, that's good stuff.
And then we had some text only updates just to make things cleaner, but it's not that impactful, gameplay wise.
I think we have a little bit of time, right? Pull up. We have a little treat for you guys. There is a tier list that was made by, let me see, it's Oliek, but it was in cooperation with Citro, Rogojin, Wallace. I know everyone except Wallace, so let me go and follow him on Twitter.
He's a beautiful guy. That's what I've been told about him.
Well, I mean, I can vouch for the others that they're very high-level players, and them including Wallace probably means it's a very high-level player as well. So that's 4 very high-level players sitting together making a tier list, and they put it available for free on Twitter. So the
how dare they?
Yeah, now I can't farm points.
Yeah,
telling people what's good. I'll put the link in the chat if you guys are watching live. And for those of you just listening, we'll cover some of the more, I guess,
unusual,
interesting things, right? Yeah. So generally speaking, when we look at tier lists, we don't really tackle, the stuff at the bottom or even the stuff in the middle. It's more interesting what's in the top. because then you know what's not. Right? So what's not at the top is in the middle and the bottom. All right, so in this A tier for you. So first of all, I guess interesting is they don't have anything in S, and that's probably due to just quests making things more equal.
Yeah,
right? Because
you can win with everything basically. So it kind of so S tier is usually reserved for like, oh, this guy's in the lobby playing this hero, I can't win. Right, but because quest is like, what's his quest? Like, it's like that actually matters quite a lot. So it's hard to have a hero that kind of dominates in a quest meta without knowing what quest they have. So I think this makes a lot of sense here.
Yep, which is cool. I think that's a fun touch to just say, no S tier in quest meta. So is there any hero in the A tier then, Collins, that you look at and say, oh, that's interesting, I didn't expect that, or maybe a hero that you're like, yeah, I mean, I saw that one coming for sure. And any observations?
In the A tier that surprises me, I will say there is a very high amount of low armor heroes in A tier, right? Like you would think before where quest meta, it was like, oh, you have a low armor, you really have no quest that can do well. But it seems like with this change where everyone has armor, the armor values aren't really impacting as heavily some of the stronger heroes so that they can still shine. Because that was something that happened last meta where you really didn't see any super high low armor heroes being like very highly regarded because it was just the quests were too hard most of the time. But here seems that's not as big of a problem, and you see a lot of like 5-6 armor heroes just still up in the highest tier. So that's my thoughts there.
Fair, that's fair. I think in regards to the previous quest meta, there were some high performers that were on low or no armor, but it's really, you have to think why that is, right? Because I think there's a great example here where let's look at Gallywix Millhouse, both 5 armor in A tier, and then we have Inge, who is a 6 armor hero, fairly good outside of quest meta, right? You get some free tempo, you can level. We have her in trash tier, just like unplayable, never pick. And that makes perfect sense when you think about it, where Inge's ability is not really helping you with the quest at all.
No, it doesn't do anything.
In a very weird case and stat increase, right? It can help you a bit, but even then it's slow, right? It's 1 per turn. But Gallywix and Millhouse, they don't really get like specific quests where, oh, we can't give this to a Gallywix. No, if it's buy 20 minions, you could get that on Inge or you could get that on Gallywix. And you think about it, from a Millhouse or a Gallywix buying 20 minions or an Inge buying 20 minions, that is a very, very big difference. Like those heroes are buying and selling like crazy already. So spending gold, 1 second. Let me just, so spending gold, buying an X specific like battle cry, playing elementals, all those quests are easier on those heroes. And similar to say a Scabs, which is also in A tier, Scabs, while not receiving a discount for buying, does get a discount because he steals for 2 gold. So you can steal for 2, end up playing more minions. Like Collins, I need to go.
Okay. Yeah. I would say a lot of the minions at the higher tier have some way of generating value through minions. If you look, they either generate minions through their hero power, or their hero power is giving you value in such a way to get minions, right? Almost every single one. You could say like there's just a couple that don't really give you any minions, but even things like Reno doubles a minion. Even things like Shutterwalk, right, can give you economy. So it just seems like for these players, some of the things they value in a hero is just the ability to generate resources to complete quests quicker usually, or to just have a lot of tempo with the extra minions they're getting. When we go down the list, I would say like there isn't like, their list is pretty, I guess, honest in terms of like there's nothing crazy where that jumps out to be like, wow. There's maybe a couple, 1 or 2, but that's the nice thing about having multiple people when you are making a tier list. You kind of, as long as the people in there are of a particular quality, you kind of balance each other out. And even though you might have like a good game or good opinions about one card, the other players will kind of make sure that you're on track. There's a rationale. You have to defend your points basically. Which lets you think about, is this because it feels good, or is it because it actually performs well for these particular reasons? So nothing really jumps out at me when we look at this. In terms of the heroes in particular, there isn't anything like, oh my god. But maybe that's due to my lack of play as well, right? Like I haven't played as much as maybe Shitty has, so he might have stuff that jumps out to him. But in terms of like moving up, down one, maybe there's a couple, but I think this is a pretty good tier list for the particular meta. It doesn't seem like there's too much bias there. The trash, like I always like looking at the bottom. When I'm looking at tier lists, I always like looking at the bottom just to see what they think is bad, because at least to me, it tells me a lot of what they're looking at. They have things like Hogger, they have things like Innie, they have Deathwing, Patchwork, a lot of just low tempo heroes, right? Where or a lot of low economy or low tempo heroes where it's kind of hard to buy consistently or buy more than other heroes, and that's really some of their weakness here. So kind of agree with that. I do think you have to have some economy value if you want to do well in quest meta. If your hero power doesn't help your quest at all, then it's gonna be rough to get that consistent advantage with the games you're playing.
Do you see my cat take over my chair?
No, I'm not seeing it.
She's not having any of it. One second. Yeah, she's very like, I'm gonna bite you if you touch me. Let me go grab her. Live recording.
You just bite back. Like that's the easy solution, yeah. Cats. You have any opinions about the tier list?
I will tell you in a second.
Dude, I remember when that cat was so small. Sorry, we're getting distracted.
He's a chonker now, for sure. Yeah, sorry guys. Live recording. My daughter woke up, etc. So just have to get a towel. Be like, all right, cat. Man 1, animal 0. It's like, just bite me now.
Let's be honest. That cat has won most of the time. Like,
yeah, that cat is up a lot, but not today. Today I'm winning. Oh man, I heard some stuff when you were.
I was just saying stuff. You know how it is.
Words and all that. I think the something that I definitely overvalued a little bit at the start was the armor, where
I did mention it. Like it doesn't feel that bad because I was just playing whatever I wanted, and I was like, I didn't notice it. And that's impactful, right? Where I remember last time you mentioned it, I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. Here I was like, oh, is that what's going on? Oh, they're still doing that. It wasn't as impactful. So I do think that was something to think about.
Yeah, the I think it's just like if you can get a good hero power on top of armor, that's where it's really just
that's when it's really good. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. So like the Zephyrus, I think is a clear example.
I do agree. It doesn't like they haven't balanced the armor. We were talking about that. They haven't balanced it.
When it's in front of you like this, you're like, okay, how is Deathwing there at 8 armor and Zephyrus at
18? I know it doesn't make sense.
Like that's insane, right? Yeah, like Innie at 7. What else is there? Drek at 8. Dead Speaker at 7. Like all these heroes just don't really help you quest, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, questionable.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel like the armor is made for quests, right? Like
no, and it wasn't because it's not been changed. So it's not balanced for quest, which is why I said I was so surprised because that's something I assumed there's all these armor values that were created outside of a quest meta that were then just taken into a quest meta, which obviously make no sense because now you suddenly have armor means a very different thing in quest meta, right? It's survivability and you get an easier quest. So
don't you think they should have changed it by now? It's been like a month, right? Plus, like, feels like
I was definitely expecting it in the first patch.
Yeah.
So I'm, my charitable interpretation is they're releasing 2 new quests. Let's see what that does, and then we'll do a big armor change.
My thoughts is like they looked at the heroes and they're just like, I don't want to do this. They just looked at the stats.
Wait. Apparently, there's a leak in chat. Let me have a look. Patch 27.0.1. This is great though. This is actual like.
There's a patch right now.
Hot news.
Oh my god!
It's more like a server side update type thing. Patch 27.0.1 is a server side hotfix rolling out with the following updates. New quests no longer appear more frequent than normal. Okay, that's big, right? So you're gonna have old quests happen a lot more now, whereas before you'd have like Blood Moon being pushed a lot more because that was a new quest. Victim Spectre, burn the evidence.
Can you give me a link? Oh, it's right here. Sorry, it's in the chat.
No, it's all good. All good. Victim Spectre, burn the evidence, and pressure the authorities have been returned into the quest reward pool. So that's like cell minions, right? Cell minions that was like so hard, so they took it out. And pressure the authorities, I don't know exactly what that was, but Victim Spectre, we talked about it, wasn't in. Burn the evidence is now easier to complete, so I'm guessing that's the selling. It's easier. Yeah. Blood Moon's Shard and Locket are now more difficult to complete. So I don't know if that's on top of what we've already had. But they've made Locket more rare. So that's great. I like it. Great. Good stuff. Talk about being responsive. Following quest rewards have been easier to complete. Map Anima Bright Mirror Shit. So this seems similar,
wow. This is hilarious.
It's so funny that because there's a bunch of armor changes, guys, and we'll dive right in after this. This is a funny episode. I sure hope everyone listens till the end because it'll be like, well, I guess no armor updates. I'm gonna stop listening. Yeah, funny. So I'm guessing this is on top of what was already issued because there's Map easier, Anima Bribe easier, Divine Shield easier, but there's also Conch and Partner in Crime, and those were not listed in the previous one. So I don't know if that's like a double buff for like Anima Bribe, but we'll see. Do you want to go over the heroes or?
Okay, yeah. We can look at the armor. So Onyxia, so the following heroes now have less armor, so they're getting nerfed. Onyxia now has 7 armor. Hooktusk now has 11 at higher, 15 at lower. Arana, Fungal Master Flurgo, Ozamat, and Rokara now have 12 armor. Curator's getting less armor. Okay, Curator now has 13 armor. I guess the undead thing was actually pretty cool to get the reborn. Illidan Storm, Rage, Kurtrus, okay. Pyramid, Sneed, Yashara now have 14 armor. Bigglesworth, Crag, Tess, Zephyrus now have 15 armor. Okay. They were listening.
Yeah.
Release the patch. Release the server. Ragnaros the Violet now is 16 at higher, 13 at lower. So quite reasonable changes, honestly, out here.
Very good.
More armor, so these are getting a little bit buff. Cookie, okay, now it's 9 armor. Death Speaker Blackthorn, Murloc Chrome is 10 armor, it's reasonable. Ingi, which we were just complaining about, now is 10 is higher, 6 is lower, so still pretty good at lower tier, but higher tier needs some help. Any Stormcall now is 11 armored, higher tier, 8 are lower, makes sense. Hogger, Omu, Guff, Nazad now is 12. Ysera is 12. 5 at lower, so yeah, they don't want to buff Ysera for lower. They're like, no. Rockmaster Voon now is 12 at higher, 15 at lower. Toki, Lady Vosh, Queen Ashara, Varden Deathcraft now is 13 armor. Maleficent Manastorm now is 13 at higher level, 8 at lower. So Maleficent Manastorm getting a huge buff, right? 13 armor for Maleficent. Or is that Oh no!
She came from low, yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought that was the other. They all Manastern, right? The family. So I was like, oh, they're buffing him. Like, no, they're buffing her, which is fair.
Millhouse should very much stay at 5.
Millhouse at 5. Yeah, y'all get 14. Let's go! Finally, Phelan George Rakanishu has 15, and Edwin Vacuum as the jailer now has 17 armor. Oh, and Patchwork now has a harder time completing quests. Huh?
Yeah. I think he was treated at like 15 armor.
15 armor, something like that, right? Yeah.
So you get 60 health
with 15 armor.
Quest,
the Golden Hammer quest will no longer be offered in games with Nagas. Let's go. They were listening.
This is actually insane. They're like, okay,
let's just fix it. Let's fix
the podcast.
ETC will no longer be offered a Snickers Snacks quest reward. I think there was like an issue with a very powerful combo with the Snickers Snacks with some of the buddies.
I was doing the Sneed Buddy, right?
Yeah.
The Sneed Buddy copies the battle cry, copies the death rattle, right? So you could just farm death rattles. And you could do that with other stuff as well, but yeah, I think it's correct to do that.
Yeah. Edwin Van Cleve and Cario's hero power have been removed from the Master Wind's hero power pool, which makes sense because they don't work that well for a one-turn synergy.
They're just dead hits.
Wow. Gotta say, pretty good server fix.
This is a very, very different patch than the one we just evaluated, right? Yeah. There's a lot of this is the patch, not the server fix.
Yeah. Right? This is the actual patch. They just needed more time. Okay, that was the truth.
Yeah, they needed an extra 45 minutes here. So. Yeah, I mean, honestly, one of the lines that is probably easy to skip over, but is very impactful, is that they no longer give a bonus to new quests. So I was seeing a shit ton of the Baron and the Titus quest, or the Titus and the Baron quest. That's now back to normal, I'm guessing, right? Because it's they no longer have a boost on new quests. So yeah, just more older quests popping up. More I guess Victim Spectre is back in, right? So that would be an example of an older quest coming back in. More smoking guns, I'm assuming, and stuff like that. Less of the Blood Moons, less of the what are other really popular new quests?
Double Ganger's Locket.
Yeah, and they've made that one extra rare.
Yeah.
Good. Honestly, that's a great way to wrap up.
They fixed. they've done a lot of good stuff in this server side.
So much.
Yeah. It's crazy because everything we were complaining about is in here. Almost everything. It's wow.
Yeah. I mean, down to the locket being more rare, right? Sure, they didn't kill it off completely, which would be more fun for me, but just that's their way of doing it, right? We've just made it more rare. You get to fight this bullshit less.
Yeah, we put the resources to make this quest. It's gonna be in the game. It's just gonna be a little bit rare. All right. And then they I mean, I like this. All right. Sounds great.
This is good. Good stuff. Thumbs up. Thumbs up for sure.
I'm looking at the bug fixes in case there's a magnetized bug fix again. I'm just
reverted to magnetic buff. Yeah, that's good. Honestly, we should check the bug fixes from that one.
Yeah.
I don't really when I read this, fix the bug where base skill could permanently lock cards in your hand. I was fix the bug where base skill summons a bunch of Leros and you fucking die because their board is so insane. It's that's what my brain did, right? Fix the bug where you would lose the base skill when their board is trash. But yeah, that's good though, because people were doing that. People were complaining that they would triple a card and it was locked from base skill and then it's in the hand and then they can't play it or some bullshit, right? It was something going on with the base skill bug.
All right. Well, any final thoughts? I mean, I don't want to spend another 2 hours going through every.
No. I think this is good. This was the final thoughts, right? We had a bunch of stuff we wanted.
When you go back to the tier list, everything in the top got hit somehow.
We could see what didn't get hit, right? ETC kind of got hit, right? Not directly, but like some interactions.
Yeah.
Shutter didn't get hit. Future Sight didn't get hit.
Yeah.
Carriel already got hit, right? She
Yeah,
had 12 there. Reno
didn't get hit. Yeah.
Panda didn't get hit.
Panda got buffed. Panda got buffed.
Yeah,
because you can't hit Edwin and Carriel now.
That's true. Did Bran get less? I
don't think Bran got hit. No.
That's nice. And then Millhouse, Edwin, still there. Not Edwin. Yeah. Gallywix. I don't know how that went to Edwin, but Millhouse, Gallywix still. Yeah, so there's definitely still some guys.
Half got hit though. They got snapped. They got snapped.
Yeah, now they're gonna be an S tier. Like the survivors from A tier just could like pull to S tier. It's like there we go, tier list fixed. All right, good stuff. All right, no, I'm all good. This was a good episode, fun stuff.
All right, sounds good. All right, I'm supposed to say stuff here. Thank you guys for joining. Hope you guys enjoyed it. See you in the next one. You find us at the HSBG Podcast Gmail. You find us at YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Shady Bunny Live, Educated Collins, Hearthstone, or the other places. Anyways, hope you guys enjoy it. Take care of yourself. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.
Have a good one, everyone.